All right, I'm going to go through some adding fractions with like and unlike denominators here. I want you guys to know that in these examples we're adding, but if we were subtracting, we would go through the same processes and we would end up just subtracting the numerators instead of adding them. Okay, so here we go. The first one up here, 2/7 plus 3/7. All right, 2/7 plus 3/7. Whenever we add or subtract, we need to make sure we have the same denominator. In this case, we do have the same denominator. So all I have to do is add straight across and keep the denominator. Okay? So in this case, 2 plus 3 is 5. And then I keep the denominator of 7. Okay? So I added straight across, kept the denominator. 5/7, neither of those have a common factor, so I can't simplify, so that is my final answer. All right, next. We have 1/4 plus 7/10. Okay? Now I notice that I don't have the same denominator here. So what I have to make sure I do is I have to make sure I rewrite my addition problem and that I give my fractions the same denominator. Okay? But how do I change these into the same denominator without changing the value of the fraction? Okay? Well, we can make equivalent fractions. If you remember making equivalent fractions, we can go ahead and find the common factor between 4 and 10, or a common multiple, I'm sorry. We're going to find the common multiple between 4 and 10, okay? So multiples of 4, we know are 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24. We know the multiples of 10 are 10, 20, 30, 40. If we look at those lists, we'll see that 20 is the least common multiple, okay? And to show that again, here's my multiples of 4, okay? 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. And my multiples of 10 are 10, 20, 30, but I just have to go to 20 because I'll see here that 20 is my least common multiple. So that's my least common denominator. So now I can rewrite both of these fractions with 20 as the denominator. Okay, but now what do I have to do? So I have to ask myself, how did I change 4 into 20? Well, I did 4 times 5. Okay, so whatever I do on the bottom, I'm going to have to do that same thing up on the top, right? 4 times 5 is 20. 1 times 5 is 5. So now I changed my 1/4 into 5/20, which is an equivalent fraction. Now over here, how did 10 turn into 20? Oh, well, I did 10 times 2 to get 20. So 7 times 2 is going to give me the answer of 14. So now I have 14/20. Okay? And now I have the situation where I just have to add straight across again. Okay? 5 plus 14 is 19. Keep the denominator the same. And there's no common factor between 19 and 20, so that's my final answer. Okay? All right. I want to do this example down here. We have 2 different denominators. Let's say there's a situation where we aren't aware of what the least common multiple is. Okay, let's say I look at 2 and 6 and I'm like, okay, I don't quite know my multiples of those numbers that well, so I don't know if I'm going to get the least common multiple. What should I do? Okay. In your last ditch effort, okay, to get the same denominators, you are allowed to multiply the denominators by each other. So I took this 2 and I multiplied it by the 6, and I'm taking the 6 and I'm multiplying it by the 2 of the other denominator. Okay? Now, this isn't going to get you the least common multiple all the time, or the least common denominator, but it's a way to get those denominators the same, so you can go ahead and add across. So 2 times 6 is 12, and 6 times 2 is 12. Okay? So then I'm going to multiply, do the same thing on the top. So 1 times 6 in this case is 6. And 2 times 2 is 4. Okay? Now I get 6 twelfths plus 4 twelfths. And I add straight across now. And I get 10. And my denominator stays the same, so I get 12. Now, 10 and 12 do have a common factor, so these two this fraction can be simplified. So I'm going to simplify by dividing both by 2. Ten divided by 2 is 5, and 12 divided by 2 is 6. So my answer is 5/6. Okay. So there you go. That's adding fractions with like and unlike denominators. Again, if we were subtracting, we would do the whole process exactly the same. We would just end up subtracting the numerators instead of adding them. Right? Thank you.